Why are Dalmatians firehouse dogs?
Before automobiles, coaches and carriages were often accompanied by dogs that kept horses company and guarded them from theft. Dalmatians were particularly well known for the strong bond they formed with horses, and firemen, who often owned the strongest and speediest horses in the area, kept the dogs at the station to deter horse thieves. Although fire engines have replaced horses, Dalmatians have remained a part of firehouse life. Both for the appeal of these beautiful dogs and for their nostalgic tie to the past.
Which species have been removed from the endangered species list because they have recovered?
"22 species have been removed from the endangered species list because they have recovered. The status of 7 species has been changed due to taxonomic revision. New information has been discovered for 4 other species.
Who was the first programmer?
According to historical accounts, Lord Byron's, 1788–1824, daughter, Augusta Ada Byron, 1815–1852. The Countess of Lovelace, was the first person to write a computer program for Charles Babbage's analytical engine. This machine was to work by means of punched cards that could store partial answers that could later be retrieved for additional operations and would then print the results. Her work with Babbage and the essays she wrote about the possibilities of the engine established her as a kind of founding parent of the art and science of programming. The programming language called Ada was named in her honor by the U.S. Department of Defense. In modern times, Commodore Grace Murray Hopper, 1906–1992. Of the U.S. Navy, is acknowledged as one of the first programmers of the Mark I computer in 1944.
What are the common cuts of gemstones?
Modern gem cutting uses faceted cutting for most transparent gems. In faceted cutting, numerous facets geometrically disposed to bring out the beauty of light and color to the best advantage are cut. The 4 most common cuts are the brilliant, the rose, the baguette, and the step or trap cut. The step or trap cut is also known as the emerald cut and is used for emeralds. The brilliant and rose cuts are often used for diamonds.
What is the Red Queen hypothesis?
This hypothesis, also called the law of constant extinction, is named after the Red Queen in Lewis Carroll's, 1832–1898, Through the Looking Glass, who said, "Now here, you see, it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. The idea is that an evolutionary advance by one species represents a deterioration of the environment for all remaining species. This places pressure on those species to advance just to keep up.
In addition to left or right-handedness, what other left-right preferences do people have?
Most people have a preferred eye, ear, and foot. In one study, for example, 46% were strongly right-footed, while 3.9% were strongly left-footed, similar to being right-handed. Furthermore, 72% were strongly right-handed and 5.3% strongly left-handed. Estimates vary about the proportion of left-handers to right-handers, but it may be as high as 1 in 10. Some 90% of healthy adults use the right hand for writing. 2/3 favor the right hand for most activities requiring coordination and skill. There is no male-female difference in these proportions.
How many chromosomes are in a human body cell?
A human being normally has 46 chromosomes, 23 pairs, in all but the sex cells. Half of each pair is inherited from the mother's egg, the other, from the father's sperm. When the sperm and egg unite in fertilization, they create a single cell, or zygote, with 46 chromosomes. When cell division occurs, the 46 chromosomes are duplicated. This process is repeated billions of times over, with each of the cells containing the identical set of chromosomes. Only the gametes, or sex cells, are different in their cell division. The members of each pair of chromosomes are separated and distributed to different cells. Each gamete has only 23 chromosomes.
What are some newer forms of portable storage media?
External hard drives are similar to the internal hard drive of the machine, with storage capacity of up to and beyond 2 TB. Often using a USB port to connect, they provide an easy alternative for backup storage. Compact discs, CDs, and DVDs are optical storage devices. There are 3 types of CDs and DVDs: read-only, write-once, CDR and DVD-R, and rewritable, CDRW and DVD-RW. Although read-only CDs and DVDs are wonderful for pre-packaged software, they do not permit a user to save their own material. CDRs store 700 megabytes of data and can be written once. DVD-Rs are similar to CDRs except they hold 4 to 28 times more data. Single-disc DVD-Rs are available that can store 4.7 GB of data or 2 hours of video. Read/write CDs use a different chemical compound which allows data to be recorded, erased, and rewritten. Solid-state storage technology has no moving parts. One example is flash memory sticks. All cells are set to 0 on the memory chip before data is stored in a flash memory stick. When data are entered, electric charges are applied to certain cells. These charges pierce a thin layer of oxide and become trapped. The trapped charges become ones. The binary code pattern of zeros and ones is stored into the memory. Flash memory sticks are available with up to 64 GB of storage, providing large amounts of easily transportable storage.
What are monoclonal antibodies?
Monoclonal antibodies are artificially produced antibodies designed to neutralize a specific foreign protein, antigen. Clone cells, genetically identical, are stimulated to produce antibodies to the target antigen. Most monoclonal antibody work so far has used clone cells from mice infected with cancer. In some cases they are used to destroy cancer cells directly. In others they carry other drugs to combat the cancer cells.
What was the Turk?
The Turk was the name for a famous chess-playing automaton. An automaton, such as a robot, is a mechanical figure constructed to act as if it moves by its own power. On a dare in 1770, a civil servant in the Vienna imperial court named Wolfgang von Kempelen 1734 to 1804, created a chess-playing machine. This mustached, man-sized figure carved from wood wore a turban, trousers, and robe, and sat behind a desk. In one hand it held a long Turkish pipe, implying that it had just finished a pre-game smoke. And its innards were filled with gears, pulleys, and cams. The machine seemed a keen chess player and dumbfounded onlookers by defeating all the best human chess players. It was a farce, however. Its moves were surreptitiously made by a man hiding inside. The Turk, so dubbed because of the outfit similar to traditional Turkish garb, is regarded as a forerunner to the Industrial Revolution because it created a commotion over devices that could complete complex tasks. Historians argue that it inspired people to invent other early devices such as the power loom and the telephone. And it even was a precursor to concepts such as artificial intelligence and computerization. Today, however, computer chess games are so sophisticated that they can defeat even the world's best chess masters. In May 1997, the Deep Blue chess computer defeated world champion Garry Kasparov, 1963. Deep Blue was a 32-node IBM R/6000 SP high-performance computer that used Power 2 superchip processors, P2SC. Each node had a single microchannel card containing 8 dedicated VLSI chess processors for a total of 256 processors working in tandem. allowing Deep Blue to calculate 100 to 200 billion chess moves within 3 minutes.
What are the functions of the urinary system?
The functions of the urinary system include regulation of body fluids, removal of metabolic waste products, regulation of volume and chemical makeup of blood plasma, and excretion of toxins.
Does catgut really come from cats?
Catgut, an absorbable sterile strand, is obtained from collagen derived from healthy mammals. It was originally prepared from the submucosal layer of the intestines of sheep. It is used as a surgical ligature. The major advantage of minimally invasive surgery is that it is less traumatic to the patient. There is less scarring, and recovery time is much quicker. Hospital stays are shorter.
What is the meaning of the numbers in a blood pressure reading?
When blood is forced into the aorta, it exerts a pressure against the walls. This is referred to as blood pressure. The upper number, the systolic, measures the pressure during the period of ventricular contraction. The lower number, the diastolic, measures the pressure when blood is entering the relaxed chambers of the heart. While these numbers can vary due to age, sex, weight, and other factors. The normal blood pressure is around 110/60 to 140/90 mm of mercury.
Are there clouds that form in specific areas or times of day?
Lenticular clouds form only over mountain peaks. They look like a stack of different layers of cloud matter. Noctilucent clouds are the highest in Earth's atmosphere. They form only between sunset and sunrise between the latitudes of 50 degrees and 70 degrees north and south of the equator.
Who was the founder of the Soviet space program?
Sergei P. Korolev, 1907 to 1966, made enormous contributions to the development of Soviet manned spaceflight. And his name is linked with their most significant space achievements. Trained as an aeronautical engineer, he directed the Moscow group studying the principles of rocket propulsion. And in 1946 took over the Soviet program to develop long-range ballistic rockets. Under Korolev, the Soviets used these rockets for space projects and launched the world's first satellite on October 4, 1957. Besides a vigorous, unmanned, interplanetary research program, Korolev's goal was to place men in space, and following tests with animals his manned space flight program was initiated when Yuri Gagarin was successfully launched into Earth's orbit. Chaffee, Grissom, and White died in a cabin fire during a test firing of the Apollo 1 rocket. Komarov was killed in Soyuz 1 when the capsule's parachute failed. Dobrovolsky, Patsayev, and Volkov were killed during the Soyuz II's re-entry. When a valve accidentally opened and released their capsule's atmosphere. Jarvis, McAuliffe, McNair, Onizuka, Resnick, Scobie, and Smith died when the Space Shuttle Challenger STS-51L exploded 73 seconds after liftoff. Husband, McCool, Anderson, Joblat, Brown, Clark, and Ramon died when the Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrated over Texas upon re-entry. In addition, 19 other astronauts and cosmonauts have died of non-space-related causes. 14 of these died in air crashes, 4 died of natural causes, and 1 died in an auto crash. What was one of the worst disasters in the U.S.?
What are Venn diagrams?
Venn diagrams are graphical representations of set theory, which use circles to show the logical relationships of the elements of different sets, using the logical operators. Also called in computer parlance Boolean operators, and, or, and not. John Venn, 1834–1923, first used them in his 1881 symbolic logic, in which he interpreted and corrected the work of George Boole, 1815–1864, and Augustus de Morgan, 1806–1871. While his attempts to clarify perceived inconsistencies and ambiguities in Boole's work are not widely accepted, the new method of diagramming is considered to be an improvement. Venn used shading to better illustrate inclusion and exclusion. Charles Dodgson, 1832–1898, better known by his pseudonym Lewis Carroll, refined Venn's system, in particular by enclosing the diagram to represent the universal set.
When was the term Web 2 first used?
The term Web 2.0 was first used in 2004 during a brainstorming conference between Tim O'Reilly, 1954, of O'Reilly Media and Medialive International. Rather than believing as some had that the web had crashed following the .com collapse, it was a turning point for the web to become a platform for collaborative effort between Internet users, providers, and enterprises.
How many dwarf planets are in the solar system?
A dwarf planet is an object in orbit around the Sun that has sufficient mass, large enough, to have its own gravity pull itself into a round or near round shape. There are currently 5 objects which are considered dwarf planets. Ceres, Pluto, Eris, Makemake, and Haumea. Scientists expect to discover additional dwarf planets or reclassify some large asteroids as dwarf planets.
What is the meaning of the medical abbreviation NYD?
Not yet diagnosed.
Which country is the largest producer of coal?
China is the world's largest producer of coal, producing an estimated 3,209,677 short tons in 2009.
What is meant by the wind chill factor?
The wind chill factor, or wind chill index, is a number that expresses the cooling effect of moving air at different temperatures. It indicates in a general way how many calories of heat are carried away from the surface of the body. The National Weather Service began reporting the equivalent wind chill temperature along with the actual air temperature in 1973. For years it was believed that the index overestimated the wind's cooling effect on skin. In 2001 to 2002 a new wind chill index was instituted, and additional corrections are expected in the next few years. Below is the official wind chill chart from the National Weather Service as of 2009.
What seedless, vascular plant played a role in early photography?
Prior to the invention of flash bulbs, photographers used flash powder that consisted almost entirely of dried spores from club mosses of the genus Lycopodium. Layers of sediment formed over the plant material during each flood cycle. Heat and pressure built up in these accumulated layers and converted the plant material to coal. The various types of coal, lignite, bituminous, and anthracite, were formed as a result of the different temperatures and pressures to which the layers were exposed.
What is the most enduring mathematical work of all time?
The Elements of Euclid, c. 300 BCE, has been the most enduring and influential mathematical work of all time. In it, the ancient Greek mathematician presented the work of earlier mathematicians and included many of his own innovations. The Elements is divided into 13 books, the first 6 cover plane geometry. 7 to 9 address arithmetic and number theory, 10 treats irrational numbers, and 11 to 13 discuss solid geometry. In presenting his theorems, Euclid used the synthetic approach. in which one proceeds from the known to the unknown by logical steps. This method became the standard procedure for scientific investigation for many centuries. And the elements probably had a greater influence on scientific thinking than any other work.
What are the major groups of segmented worms?
Members of the phylum Annelida, the segmented worms, have bilateral symmetry and a tubular body that may have 100 to 175 ring-like segments. The three classes of segmented worms are, 1. Polychaeta, the sandworms and tube worms. 2. Oligochaeta, the earthworms, and 3. Hirudinea, the leeches.
When were glass blocks invented?
Dating back to 1847, glass blocks were originally used as telegraph insulators. They were much smaller and thicker than structural glass blocks and were used mostly in the southeastern untied states until eventually replaced with porcelain and other types of insulating materials. Glass building bricks were invented in Europe in the early 1900s as thin blocks of glass supported by a grid. Structural glass blocks have been manufactured in the United States since. Pittsburgh-based Pittsburgh Corning began producing them in 1938. Blocks made at that time measured approximately 8 inches. 20 centimeters, square by nearly 5 inches. 13 centimeters, in depth, and cast a greenish tint as light transmitted through it. Today's glass blocks can be a square foot in size, much more uniformly shaped, and available in many different sizes, textures, and colors.
How long does it take for a discarded aluminum beverage can to be recycled and returned as a new beverage can?
A recycled aluminum beverage can return to the shelf as a new beverage can in as little as 60 days.
What is the tallest mountain?
Mauna Kea, an inactive volcano on the island of Hawaii, measures 33,474 feet. 10,203 meters, from its base to the top. However, it only rises 13,796 feet, 4,205 meters, above sea level since its base is on the ocean floor.
How many types of RNA are found in eukaryotic cells?
There are 5 major types of RNA found in eukaryotic cells. 1. Heterogeneous nuclear RNA, hnRNA. 2. Messenger RNA, mRNA, 3. Transfer RNA, tRNA, 4. Ribosomal RNA, rRNA, and 5. Small nuclear RNA. The primary types of RNA are mRNA, tRNA, and rRNA. Messenger RNA, a single strand copied from a DNA strand. Carries the genetic code from the DNA to the site of protein synthesis on the ribosomes. The most abundant type of RNA, rRNA, participates in protein synthesis in the ribosomes. Transfer, tRNA, is the translation molecule. Each tRNA molecule carries a specific anticodon, picks up a specific amino acid, and conveys the amino acid to the appropriate codon on mRNA.
What are the 7 endocrine glands?
The major endocrine glands include the pituitary, thyroid, parathyroids, adrenals, pancreas, testes, and ovaries. These glands secrete hormones into the blood system, which generally stimulate some change in metabolic activity. Pituitary secretes ACTH to stimulate the adrenal cortex, which produces aldosterone to control sodium and potassium reabsorption by the kidneys, FSH to stimulate gonad function and prolactin, to stimulate milk secretion of breasts, TSH to stimulate thyroid gland to produce thyroxine, LH to stimulate ovulation in females and testosterone production in males, GH to stimulate general growth. Stores oxytocin for uterine contraction. Thyroid secretes triiodothyronine, T3, and thyroxine, T4, to stimulate metabolic rate, especially in growth and development, and secretes calcitonin to lower blood calcium levels. Parathyroids secrete hormone PTH to increase blood calcium levels, and stimulates calcium reabsorption in kidneys. Adrenals secrete epinephrine and norepinephrine to help the body cope with stress, and raise blood pressure, heart rate, metabolic rate, blood sugar levels, etc. Aldosterone secreted by the adrenal cortex maintains sodium-potassium balance in kidneys, and cortisol helps the body adapt to stress, mobilizes fat, and raises blood sugar level. Pancreas secretes insulin to control blood sugar levels, stimulates glycogen production, fat storage, and protein synthesis. Glucagon secretion raises blood sugar level and mobilizes fat. Ovaries and testes secrete estrogens, progesterone, or testosterone to stimulate growth and reproductive processes.
What are the major functions of the respiratory system?
The major functions of the respiratory system are: gas exchange. The respiratory system allows oxygen in the air to enter the blood and carbon dioxide to leave the blood and enter the air. The cardiovascular system transports oxygen from the lungs to the cells of the body and carbon dioxide from the cells of the body to the lungs. Regulation of blood pH, which can be altered by changes in blood carbon dioxide levels. Voice production as air moves past the vocal cords to make sound and speech. Olfaction, or the sense of smell, occurs when airborne molecules are drawn into the nasal cavity. Innate immunity, providing protection against some microorganisms by preventing their entry into the body or by removing them from respiratory surfaces.
When did the most severe earthquake in American history occur?
The New Madrid series of earthquakes, a series of quakes starting on December 16, 1811, and lasting until March 1812, is considered to be the most severe earthquake event in U.S. history. It shook more than two-thirds of the United States and was felt in Canada. It changed the level of land by as much as 20 feet, 6 meters. Altered the course of the Mississippi River, and created new lakes, such as Lake St. Francis west of the Mississippi and Reelfoot Lake in Tennessee. Because the area was so sparsely populated, no known loss of life occurred. Scientists agree that at least 3, and possibly 5, of the quakes had surface wave magnitudes of 8.0 or greater. The largest was probably a magnitude of 8.8, which is larger than any quake yet experienced in California.
What is the largest leech?
Most leeches are between 0.75 inch and 2 inches, 2 and 6 centimeters in length, but some medicinal leeches reach 8 inches, 20 centimeters. The giant of all leeches is the Amazonian Haemanterium gillanii, from the Greek term haimateros, meaning bloody, which reaches 12 inches, 30 centimeters, in length.
What elements are common to all types of microscopes?
Three elements are needed to form an image: a source of illumination, a specimen to be examined, and a system of lenses that focuses the illumination on the specimen and forms the image.
Why are topographic maps important?
Topographic maps are distinguished by the contour lines that portray the shape and elevation of the land. They display the three-dimensional ups and downs of the terrain on a two-dimensional surface. Topographic maps usually portray natural features, such as mountains, valleys, plains, lakes, rivers, and vegetation, and man-made features, such as roads, boundaries, transmission towers, and even major buildings. Topographic maps are used by professionals for engineering, environment management, conservation of natural resources, energy exploration, public works design, and general commercial and residential planning. They are also used by individuals for outdoor recreational activities such as camping, hiking, biking, and fishing.
Is it possible to use animal organs as replacements for human organ transplantation?
In 1984, a 12-day-old infant, baby Faye, received a baboon's heart. She lived for 20 days before her body rejected the transplanted heart. Since the supply of human organs is far less than the need for human organs, researchers continue to search for alternative sources of organs. In 1999, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, prohibited the use of non-human primate organs for human transplantation unless researchers could assess the risk of disease. A major concern had been that viruses and other diseases that were harmful to the animals would be deadly to humans. Researchers continue to search for alternate sources of organs, including pigs.
Is all DNA found in the nucleus?
In addition to the nuclear DNA of eukaryotic cells, mitochondria, an organelle found in both plant and animal cells, and chloroplasts, found in plant and algal cells, both contain DNA. Mitochondrial DNA contains genes essential to cellular metabolism. Chloroplast DNA contains genetic information essential to photosynthesis.
Who received the first heart transplant?
On December 3, 1967, in Cape Town, South Africa, DR. Christiaan Barnard, 1922–2001, and a team of 30 associates performed the first heart transplant. In a 5-hour operation, the heart of Denise and Darville, 1943–1967, age 25, an auto accident victim, was transplanted into the body of Louis Washinsky, 1913–1967, a 55-year-old wholesale grocer. Washinsky lived for 18 days before dying from pneumonia. The first heart transplant performed in the United States was on a 2.5-week-old baby boy at Maimonides Hospital, Brooklyn, New York, on December 6, 1967, by Dr. Adrian Kantrowitz. 1918–2008, the baby boy lived 6.5 hours. The first adult to receive a heart transplant in the United States was Mike Kasparak. 1914–1968, age 54, at the Stanford Medical Center in Palo Alto, California, on January 6, 1968. Dr. Norman Shumway, 1923–2006, performed the operation. Mr. Kasparak lived 14 days. Almost no transplants were done in the 1970s because of the problem of rejection of the new heart by the recipient's immune system. In 1969, Jean-François Borel, 1933, discovered the anti-rejection drug cyclosporin. But it was not widely used until 1983 when the FDA granted approval. Today heart transplantation is an established medical procedure with 212 transplants performed in 2009. The percentage of patients surviving 3 years is more than 80%.
Prior to the condom, what was the main contraceptive practice?
Contraceptive devices have been used throughout recorded history. The most traditional of such devices was a sponge soaked in vinegar. The condom was named for its English inventor, the personal physician to Charles II, 1630 to 1685, who used a sheath of stretched, oiled sheep intestine to protect the king from syphilis. Previously penile sheaths were used, such as the linen one made by Italian anatomist Gabriele Fio Pius. 1523 to 1562, but they were too heavy to be successful.
How has flight contributed to the success of insects?
Flight is one key to the great success of insects. An animal that can fly can escape many predators, find food and mates, and disperse to new habitats much faster than an animal that must crawl about on the ground.
What was the music of the spheres?
Inaudible to human beings, the music of the spheres is a theoretic harmony or music created by the movements of the planets and heavenly bodies. Its existence was proclaimed by Pythagoras and accepted widely in the Greek world. It was later disproved by scientists.
What health risks are associated with smoking?
Smoking harms nearly every organ in the body. Tobacco smoking, especially cigarettes, is linked to lung cancer, which is the most common cause of cancer death in most countries. 87% of lung cancer cases are caused by cigarette smoking. More deaths are caused each year by tobacco use than by all deaths from human immunodeficiency virus. HIV, illegal drug use, alcohol use, motor vehicle injuries, suicides, and murders combined. For each pack of cigarettes smoked per day, life expectancy is decreased by 7 years. A 2-pack-a-day smoker will likely die at 60, compared to 74 for a non-smoker in the United States. There is an increased incidence of other lung diseases. Heart and blood vessel diseases, stroke, and cataracts in smokers. Women who smoke face increased problems with infertility, preterm delivery, stillbirths. Babies born with low birth weight, or having a baby die from sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS.
Who coined the term information superhighway?
A term originally coined by former Vice President Al Gore, 1948. The information superhighway was envisioned as a high-speed electronic communications network to enhance education in America in the 21st century. Its goal was to help all citizens regardless of their income level, connecting all users to one another and providing every type of electronic service possible, including shopping, electronic banking, education, medical diagnosis, video conferencing, and game playing. As the World Wide Web grew, it became the information superhighway.
What is the most famous roundworm?
One soil nematode, Caenorhabditis elegans, is widely cultured and has become a model research organism in developmental biology. The study of this animal was begun in 1963 by Sidney Brenner, 1927, who received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2002. The species normally lives in soil but is easily grown in the laboratory in petri dishes. It is only about 0.06 inch, 1.5 millimeters, long, has a simple, transparent body consisting of only 959 cells, and grows from zygote to mature adult in only 3.5 days. The genome, genetic material, of C. elegans, consisting of 14,000 genes, was the first animal genome to be completely mapped and sequenced. The small transparent body of this nematode allows researchers to locate cells in which a specific developmentally important gene is active. These cells show up as bright green spots in a photograph because they have been genetically engineered to produce a green fluorescent protein known as GFP. The complete wiring diagram of its nervous system is known, including all the neurons and all connections between them. Much of the knowledge of nematode genetics and development gained from the study of C. elegans is transferable to the study of other animals.
How does Ru-486 cause an abortion?
A pill containing Ru-486, mifepristone, deprives a fertilized embryo of a compatible uterine environment, terminating a pregnancy within 49 days of fertilization. It was approved for use in the United States on September 28, 2000. It is taken under the supervision of a qualified physician in a clinical setting or physician's office. Sometimes it is used as an emergency contraceptive, morning after pill. After unprotected sexual intercourse even when more than 49 days have passed since the woman's last menstrual period.
What was the first group of vertebrates?
The first vertebrates were fishes that appeared 500 million years ago. They were agnathans, from the Greek terms a, meaning without, and nath, meaning jaw, small. Jawless fishes up to about 8 inches, 20 centimeters, long and also known as ostracoderms, shell skin. Because their bodies were covered with bony plates, most notably a head shield protecting the brain.
Which countries have the greatest reserves of coal?
Coal is one of the most abundant fossil fuels. Over half of all the global reserves of coal are found in the United States. 29%, Russia, 19%, and China, 14%. The world's total recoverable reserves of coal were estimated at 826,001 million tons at the end of 2009. At the current rate of production, 2010, coal reserves are estimated to last for 119 years.
Where do most tsunamis occur?
Tsunamis occur most frequently in the Pacific Ocean, although they also occur in the Caribbean and Mediterranean Seas and the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. The Sumatra tsunami, which followed a strong earthquake, 9.0 on the Richter scale, in the Indian Ocean on December 26, 2004, is perhaps the most devastating on record. The tsunami had waves up to 100 feet, 30 meters, in height. Damage and deaths were recorded in 11 countries with a total of more than 230,000 people being killed. Indonesia, 168,000 people killed, Thailand, Malaysia, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, the Maldives, and the eastern coast of Africa in Somalia, Kenya, and Tanzania all recorded damage and deaths from this event.
What are some beneficial insects?
Beneficial insects include bees, wasps, flies, butterflies, moths, and others that pollinate plants. Many fruits and vegetables depend on insect pollinators for the production of seeds. Insects are an important source of food for birds, fish, and many animals. In some countries, such insects as termites, caterpillars, ants, and bees are eaten as food by people. Products derived from insects include honey and beeswax, shellac, and silk. Some predators such as mantises, ladybugs, or lady beetles, and lacewings feed on other harmful insects. Other helpful insects are parasites that live on or in the body of harmful insects. For example, some wasps lay their eggs in caterpillars that damage tomato plants.
How hot is the sun?
The center of the sun is about 27 million degrees Fahrenheit, 15 million degrees Celsius. The surface, or photosphere, of the Sun is about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit 5,500 degrees Celsius. Magnetic anomalies in the photosphere cause cooler regions that appear to be darker than the surrounding surface. These sunspots are about 6,700 degrees Fahrenheit 4,000 degrees Celsius. The Sun's layer of lower atmosphere, the chromosphere, is only a few thousand miles thick. At the base, the chromosphere is about 7,800 degrees Fahrenheit 4,300 degrees Celsius, but its temperature rises with altitude to the corona. The Sun's outer layer of atmosphere, which has a temperature of about 1,800,000 degrees Fahrenheit 1 million degrees Celsius.
When was gas lighting invented?
In 1799, Philippe Lebon. 1767 to 1804, patented a method of distilling gas from wood for use in a thermolamp, a type of lamp. By 1802, William Murdoch, 1754–1839, installed gas lighting in a factory in Birmingham, England. The introduction of widespread, reliable interior illumination enabled dramatic changes in commerce and manufacturing.
What is lithotripsy?
Lithotripsy is the use of ultrasonic or shock waves to pulverize kidney stones. Calculi, allowing the small particles to be excreted or removed from the body. There are two different methods: extracorporeal shockwave lithotripsy, ESWL, and percutaneous lithotripsy. The ESWL method, used on smaller stones, breaks up the stones with external shock waves from a machine called a lithotripter. This technique has eliminated the need for more invasive stone surgery in many cases. For larger stones, a type of endoscope, called a nephroscope, is inserted into the kidney through a small incision. The ultrasonic waves from the nephroscope shatter the stones, and the fragments are removed through the nephroscope.
Which elements have the most isotopes?
The elements with the most isotopes, with 36 each, are xenon, Xe, with 9 stable isotopes. Identified from 1920 to 1922, and 27 radioactive isotopes, identified from 1939 to 1981, and cesium, Cs. With 1 stable isotope, identified in 1921, and 35 radioactive isotopes, identified from 1935 to 1983. The element with the fewest number of isotopes is hydrogen, H, with 3 isotopes, including 2 stable ones. Protium, identified in 1920, and deuterium, often called heavy water, identified in 1931, and 1 radioactive isotope. Tritium, first identified in 1934, although not considered a radioactive isotope in 1939.
How long do most tornadoes last?
Most tornadoes have short lifespans, lasting less than 10 minutes, though they may be as short as only several seconds. Some may last an hour or longer. Tornadoes during the early to mid-1900s were often reported to be longer-lived, though many climatologists believe these may have been tornado series instead of one single event. An average tornado will travel 5 miles, 8 kilometers, during its lifespan. The tornado of March 18, 1925 traveled 219 miles, 352 kilometers, through Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana at an average speed of 60 to 73 miles per hour, 97 to 117 kilometers per hour.
What is spectroscopy?
Spectroscopy includes a range of techniques to study the composition, structure, and bonding of elements and compounds. The different methods of spectroscopy use different wavelengths of the electromagnetic spectrum to study atoms, molecules, ions, and the bonding between them.
What is the ecological footprint?
The ecological footprint is a measurement of how fast humans consume resources and generate waste compared to how fast nature can absorb the waste and generate new resources. Since the late 1970s, humanity has been in ecological overshoot, i.e., the annual demands on nature exceed what the Earth can generate in a year. It currently takes the Earth 1 year and 5 months to regenerate what is used in 1 year. Mathis Wackernagel, 1962, and William Rees, 1943. Developed the concept of the ecological footprint in 1990.
Why is it difficult to remember dreams?
Almost all dreams occur during rapid eye movement, REM, sleep. It appears that the content of dreams is stored in short-term memory and cannot be transferred into long-term memory unless they are somehow articulated. Sleep studies show that when individuals who believe they never dream are awakened at various intervals during the night, they are in the middle of a dream.
Are freshwater clams an endangered group?
Although freshwater clams are found on every continent except Antarctica, they are now considered one of the most jeopardized groups of animals in the world. Approximately 270 species belong to the family Unionidae, found in North America. A total of 72% of our 270 native mussel species are listed as recently extinct. Endangered, threatened, or of special concern due to human impact on aquatic habitat, commercial harvesting. The introduction of carp, water pollution, and the invasion of zebra mussels.
How does a seismograph work?
A seismograph records earthquake waves. When an earthquake occurs, three types of waves are generated. The first two, the P and S waves, are propagated within the Earth, while the third, consisting of Love and Rayleigh waves, is propagated along the planet's surface. The P wave travels about 3.5 miles, 5.6 kilometers, per second and is the first wave to reach the surface. The S wave travels at a velocity of a little more than half of the P waves. If the velocities of the different modes of wave propagation are known, the distance between the earthquake and an observation station may be deduced by measuring the time interval between the arrival of the faster and slower waves. When the ground shakes, the suspended weight of the seismograph, because of its inertia, scarcely moves. But the shaking motion is transmitted to the marker, which leaves a record on the drum.
What are naval stores?
Naval stores are products of coniferous trees as pine and spruce. These products include pitch, tar, resin, turpentine, pine oil, and terpenes. The term naval stores originated in the 17th century when these materials were used for building and maintaining wooden sailing ships.
Who developed the periodic table?
Dmitry Ivanovich Mendeleev, 1834 to 1907. Was a Russian chemist whose name will always be linked with the development of the periodic table. He was the first chemist to really understand that all elements are related members of a single ordered system. He changed what had been a highly fragmented and speculative branch of chemistry into a true, logical science. His nomination for the 1906 Nobel Prize in Chemistry failed by one vote. But his name became recorded in perpetuity 50 years later when element 101 was called Mendelevium. According to Mendeleev, the properties of the elements, as well as those of their compounds, are periodic functions of their atomic weights. In the 1920s, it was discovered that atomic number was the key rather than weight. Mendeleev compiled the first true periodic table in 1869 listing all the 63, then known, elements. In order to make the table work, Mendeleev had to leave gaps. And he predicted that further elements would eventually be discovered to fill them. 3 were discovered in Mendeleev's lifetime. gallium in 1875, scandium in 1879, and germanium in 1896. There are 95 naturally occurring elements. Of the remaining elements, elements 96 to 109, 10 are undisputed. There are approximately more than 50 million chemical compounds produced from the elements, registered with chemical abstracts as of 2009.
How much skin does a person shed in 1 year?
An average man or woman sheds about 600,000 particles of skin per hour, which is approximately 1.5 pounds, 680 grams, per year. Using this figure, by the age of 70, a person will have lost 105 pounds. 47.6 kilograms, of skin, which is equivalent to 2/3 of their entire body weight.
What is the difference between an ophthalmologist, optometrist, and optician?
An ophthalmologist is a physician who specializes in care of the eyes. Ophthalmologists conduct examinations to determine the quality of vision and the need for corrective glasses or contact lenses. They also check for the presence of any disorders, such as glaucoma or cataracts. Ophthalmologists may perform surgery or prescribe glasses, contact lenses, or medication, as necessary. An optometrist is a specialist trained to examine the eyes and to prescribe, supply, and adjust glasses or contact lenses. Because they are not physicians, optometrists may not prescribe drugs or perform surgery. An optometrist refers patients requiring these types of treatment to an ophthalmologist. An optician is a person who fits, supplies, and adjusts glasses or contact lenses. Because their training is limited, opticians may not examine or test eyes or prescribe glasses or drugs.
How is the distance from a lightning flash calculated?
Count the number of seconds between seeing a flash of lightning and hearing the sound of the thunder. Divide the number by 5 to determine the number of miles away that the lightning flashed.
What information can a forensic scientist determine from a human hair?
A single strand of human hair can identify the age and sex of the owner. Drugs and narcotics the individual has taken or used, up to 90 days previously, and through DNA evaluation and sample comparisons, from whose head the hair came.
What does it mean to have 20/20th vision?
Many people think that 20/20th vision equals perfect eyesight, but it actually means that the eye can see clearly at 20 feet. 6 meters, what a normal eye can see clearly at that distance. Some people can see even better 20/15, for example. With their eyes, they can view objects from 20 feet, 6 meters, away with the same sharpness that a normal-sighted person would have to move into 15 feet, 4.5 meters, to achieve.
What is a pulsar?
A pulsar is a rotating neutron star that gives off sharp regular pulses of radio waves at rates ranging from 0.001 to 4 seconds. Stars burn by fusing hydrogen into helium. When they use up their hydrogen, their interiors begin to contract. During this contraction, energy is released and the outer layers of the star are pushed out. These layers are large and cool. The star is now a red giant. A star with more than twice the mass of the Sun will continue to expand, becoming a supergiant. At that point, it may blow up in an explosion called a supernova. After a supernova, the remaining material of the star's core may be so compressed that the electrons and protons become neutrons. A star 1.4 to 4 times the mass of the Sun can be compressed into a neutron star only about 12 miles, 20 kilometers, across. Neutron stars rotate very fast. The neutron star at the center of the Crab Nebula spins 30 times per second. Some of these neutron stars emit radio signals from their magnetic poles in a direction that reaches Earth. These signals were first detected by Jocelyn Bell, 1943. Of Cambridge University in 1967. Because of their regularity, some people speculated that they were extraterrestrial beacons constructed by alien civilizations. This theory was eventually ruled out and the rotating neutron star came to be accepted as the explanation for these pulsating radio sources.
What is the difference between simple interest and compound interest?
Simple interest is calculated on the amount of principal only. Compound interest is calculated on the amount of principal plus any previous interest already earned. For example, $100 invested at a rate of 5% for 1 year will earn $5 after 1 year earning simple interest. The same $100 will earn $5.12 if compounded monthly.